I want people to have that fucking amazing experience of having a before and after in their life, where it will generate so much satisfaction, so much growth, so much awe, so much love, you know. And this is our birthright, to have that experience. If this is why we came as souls, let's facilitate experiences that it can happen.
This isn't a usual first question to start with, maybe in a podcast, but I'm actually curious. What, after all your journey so far, what's actually next for you?
Steve, thank you for the invitation. Thank you for sharing that space. You know, you've been on my personal journey for, is it 2 years and a half now? We met, we know each other. We met in Colombia through Mindvalley events. We met before that also. We went to Medellin. You know, we had fun. We danced. We laughed. We cried. You've been supporting me also with your therapies and your way of helping, you know, rebalancing our nervous, emotional, psychological, spiritual system. And it's great to share right now with you. And just to rebound on this on this conversation about podcast, I was laughing about it was Jon Stewart saying, you know, when people are angry now, instead of taking it out on people, or they should just create a podcast, you know, and so they can share their anger with the with the world. And I feel like a lot of people are feeling a call to share themselves, you know, to share the creativity they have inside, to share their wisdom, their experiences, the way they've seen and experienced life. And podcast is a beautiful, great way to do so. So I'll be excited to listen to your episode on podcasting. And so starting with what is next, that is a bold question. What is next? Life is happening. Life is happening. Life is really beautiful. I am the kind of person who wants to have a wow life. I want life to be fully. I want to experience fully life. I want to have my 10 out of 10 of satisfaction and wowness of life. And that also means accepting that I'm going to go in the lowest valleys, the lowest lows, to reach those highest highs, you know. And I feel this is the best I can do, being alive in this body, in this life. The best I can do is fully experience life in all its colors and perspective. So the divine, which I honor and I believe, you know, the divine will rejoice being living through me and living through everyone the most authentic way. So what is next? Always going more authentic, going deeper into who I am. I know I am a mirror. I am a reflection for others to grow. So the more I can work on myself, the more I can go deeper into my wounds, hurting, memories, challenges, dreams, expansion, consciousness. The more I can do the inner work, the more I can help others, you know. So I can become that mirror to reflect to others who they are, because I've looked deeply into who I am. So with that, adding more strings and more darts, more arrows to the arc, you know. So I'm going to learn breath work in Canada in a couple months. I'm into the heart protocol, which is a beautiful medicine that we can talk about it later if you want. I'm organizing journeys into sacred destination of the planet. So the next one is in Turkey, and it all has to do with let's fully live into our heart. You know, it's the mind has taken us beautifully well to that point, at that tipping point of evolution we're right now experiencing. Thank you, mind. Wonderful. Now it's the time for the heart to lead, to co-lead, so we can create a different kind of evolution, not only the technological, out of space, multi-planetary, in chipped in the brain, but another one that is more spiritual, more loving, and do this dance of polarity between, okay, amazing technology, amazing mind, thank you, amazing heart, amazing spirituality, thank you, so I'm so excited to see what's going to happen in the next few years. How is this going to unfold? How is this mystery of life going to unfold? And we each one of us have such an important role to play. And some people might say the future of humanity is at stake. Some people say, nothing's gonna happen. We'll solve it. It's all good. Business as usual. So among all those ways of looking at, I'm so excited to be part of the journey and go into what I feel is true, what I feel is authentic. And sometimes it's challenging, sometimes it's beautiful. It's always beautiful. It's always loving. It's always amazing. Sometimes it's more challenging. Sometimes it's more flowy and easy. And I'm loving it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is always beautiful. And it sounds kind of funny when you get to that space, when you see everything's beautiful, even when you're going through the depths and the challenges. I'm sure that you probably weren't always like that, and you've probably grown into that space. But it's fascinating for me, after all the work I've done on myself, there was a moment where I started to realize, hold on, like I'm in this thing. I feel really uncomfortable. I'm feeling down. I'm feeling like heavy, my energy, whatever it is I'm going through. And yet there's a part of my mind that's like cycling through, and I'm like, and this is great, and I love it, and this is what it's all about, is experiencing all of it, hence the name of the podcast. It's experiencing all of this and being able to see that that's part of the beauty, and not just look for the light all the time, but actually embrace the darkness as well. You mentioned something earlier about that, going deep. It's something I've seen in you, since we've known each other. You similar to me in that way. It seems that you're in a great service. You do lots of different things to serve the humanity, and you feel very deeply, from what I understand. And I feel also, from me, I'm not sure if it's necessary. It feels like it's necessary. Some people may disagree, but I feel that me going into my depths allows me to serve in a much greater way, because it's like the ocean floor. The ocean can hold the rivers, and all the water and the waterfalls that are coming through back into the ocean. The reason it can do that is because it's right down at the very, very depths of the ocean floor. And that's it feels like that's where a lot of my service can come in, is my ability to hold that depth and go into those shadows. What do you feel about that?
Last year, 2024, was my most challenging year ever, I would say. It's been a year of letting go of what was known, what was safe, what was marriage, country, family, work, just letting go, and leaving empty space for who I truly am. So that was the main question, who am I? Who am I deep? Who am I? Who is my soul coming to experience, and what am I coming to be, to do, so it was a whole deep journey, of all of it. And then the energy started shifting. October, November, December. December was just wow, so much enthusiasm, new project, a holistic retreat center in the US, and my podcast, and now the past few days, full moon, a lot of water here in Brazil. Like, it's raining, and I wish this water would go to LA. It's like, we have so much fucking water here now. Big shout out for LA people, man. Crazy stuff happening. And it's going to keep on happening. The Kogi, Hopi, like prophecies from hundreds of years. They say we're going to go through some climate catastrophes. This end of era we're experiencing is gonna have this aspect of evolution that hurts. It's painful, and it burns, and it's wet, and it's everything. And we just need to surf that wave, to accept it. And so the past few days, I've been feeling like a lot of insecurity, and I look at social networks and just pure insecurity, starting comparing myself to others when I know, the mind knows, yeah, comparing myself is completely silly because I want to be myself, I want to be authentic, and I should compare myself to David of the future, maybe, but not to others who have other calling, other purposes, other life trajectories. And when I see that, it's like embracing, it's just giving myself, okay, acceptance. Okay, it's okay to feel insecure right now for a couple of days, or the time that this lasts. And I feel like this is part of the tantric path that I've experienced, and we can talk about it also. But the tantra, not only as sexuality, but as accepting the whole human experience. It's like a big F yes to the whole human experience. Has to do with that, So when I'm insecure, okay, yes, I'm feeling insecure. Okay, yes, I'm feeling enthusiastic. Yeah, it's accepting. I don't fight it. I don't, give myself some hits that I shouldn't feel like that. I should be more confident, and I should be whatever. It's like, okay, I accept. And from that point of acceptance, then it opens the heart. It opens the possibility of, and then what do I want, or who do I want to be? How do I want to confront those situations? And it's much more loving and fun than the guilt of wishing to feel something different. And guilt is definitely a big theme in my life. I'm still working on it. And it's beautiful to see it. It's beautiful to release it, to let go of it, and to be able to say, guilt, fuck you. And I love you. Thank you for all that you've taught me.
Yeah, they are certainly great teachers, these things that we go through. You said something just now, and this is why I love these conversations, because there's this extra mind that we share when we come into these exploratory conversations. And you just said this word insecure, and there's this beauty in this dance of that. And I'd never thought of it from this perspective, but when you think about it from, say, the quantum perspective of there's space, 99.999. Secure means that you can lock onto something. It's secure. But to be insecure is perhaps where we come out of maybe this ego holding attachment material world and actually become flowing into this space of the unknown and become insecure. And it may feel uncomfortable because it's not familiar, but that's actually, maybe that's a good creative space. Thanks for inspiring that, because that's a really interesting thought. I never thought of that before. What do you feel about it?
When we don't know what to do next, that's probably when the real work starts. And I just shared that meme yesterday, actually, because I was like, yes, exactly. This is when you don't know who you are, when you're doubting everything, is the moment when your greatest gift can come up, because you don't know. Security, control, planification, and when you let go of that for a little while, at least, it opens the door to the grandeur of who our soul wants to become, wants to be. And crazy new ideas can come up. So I guess it's a really great starting point. I don't know. What is next? I don't know. Let's figure it out, one step at a time. Let's feel it out. Let's dream it out. Let's talk about it. The more we talk about our dreams, about our longings that we have in our heart for many years, I've had some dreams I postponed for many years, and I started talking about it a year ago, and now it helped me. Okay, now I'm really putting effort, time, resources, actions to go towards those big dreams. Podcasting is one of them. DJing is one of them. Ecstatic dance DJing. You know, it has to do with the more I talk about my dreams, the more people can feel aligned. They can give ideas, share connections, and it's a good point to say, I don't know what's next. Let's see. Let's feel.
Were you always this kind of free flowing? Did you have a certain element of control back in the day? And when did this begin of perhaps surrendering to this calling, to this mystery?
That's a question that I do not know the answer right away. So it's probably a great question. And I know I'm going to talk for myself. I'm going to expand a little bit that the human mind loves controlling. So, you know, in a way we all have. But yes, of course, I have that, the ego insecure that wants to control the path, wants to control the steps. And when did I let go? A bit, a lot of that. I guess now it comes to me letting go of my marriage, which was the safe zone, was the most beautiful, loving, amazing relationship that I've had in my 40 years of life, you know, and learning to let go of that also just open to, hey, let's see, let's feel. Everything that I thought would last forever doesn't last forever. So nothing lasts forever. And that's beautiful. So which means I cannot know anything for sure. What is here and now is the most precious. Maybe something tomorrow will come, maybe not. Maybe it will show up. So I guess this is one of the gifts of letting go of a love relationship, being able to serve the unknown, to be more open to what the heart wants and say on my own, not in a very familiar circle of relationship, but on my own. Who am I? And I was not able to ask those questions while being with someone, because I would share so much this journey of being together. So the couple would become more important than me. And I realized, okay, I want to have a wow life. Yes. For that, and I also want a wow relationship, a love relationship, you know? And for that, it requires for this other person, this woman in front of me, to also be wow, you know? And when I accept that that's what I want, wow relationships, wow myself, wow the other one in front, it means letting go of control. Because wow for me means one thing, wow for you, Steve, means something completely different. And if those paths merges for a while, great. And if they don't, because suddenly new interests, new soul calling, and it's about learning to let go, and it's deep, it's powerful, it's challenging, and it brings back to I am that I am, I am, I am, I am.
Yeah, going through these changes, this constant thing where there's even just these little echoes of emotions that come up, and there's this opportunity to keep letting go, keep letting go, keep letting go, and that's stepping into that seems to build up this trust of, oh wow, things are unfolding more, and not attaching to this emotion so much. I'm letting that go, and then you start to look back, see the dots connect, and realize, wow, okay, I've gone to a different place. I've started a different project. I'm meeting new people. I've got all these different things unfolding in my life, and I think in order to acknowledge some of those things, which I think sometimes we forget to do, is actually acknowledge where we've come and how far we've come. It's quite a beneficial thing for us to actually just see those steps that we've taken and go, oh, wow, actually, I've come a long, long way when it comes to this.
Yeah. I have a question for you, Steve, that came up now, and it has to do with uncertainty. And we met. You are working for Mindvalley, a platform that leads beautiful tribe events, big events, online platform. They do a great job, and so you were traveling thanks to that, and so you had this. Yeah, it seemed like, a safe space where you could really expand and grow. And after a few months, I realized, oh, he's in Costa Rica, and so, and it seemed like you entered into a space of more uncertainties. And I would like to also to ask you what took you to that journey of uncertainty and looking for something different.
Yeah, thanks. Actually, it's a good question. I wouldn't say I like to practice, but it's like, for me, it seems necessary for me to practice jumping into the unknown. When sometimes there's a calling that I listen to, it's like an intuitive feeling, and just like, okay, take this path, and I'll go, okay, I'm listening, and I'll jump and take that path, and it's easy. And there's some times where I can't hear it, and I'm like,
or don't want to.
Yeah, my soul's kind of just saying, take this path, and I'm like, I'm gonna ignore you here. And then it just gets louder and louder and louder. Now, I felt for a year or so when I was working with Mindvalley, I felt like it was coming to an end, but I felt that there was still something left, and there's this like energy that you can't really deny. And I'm like, okay, I could jump out now, but it feels like something incomplete for me, and maybe for something within Mindvalley, the community, whatever it might be. And then all of a sudden it was 2023, around July, August, after this event, I just started having this strong feeling all of a sudden of like, okay, this is the end of this journey. There's nothing wrong, nothing bad about Mindvalley, nothing bad about me, anything like this. It just felt like, okay, this is this kind of end of this contract, so to speak. And I just felt this strong feeling. And yeah, like I did just let go of that security. It was simple security, but it was, it was salary coming in. It was all these different things, remote work, ability to travel. It was great. It was a really wonderful space to be. And yet there was something in me just saying, it's not a vibrational match anymore. So I need to step out. And, part of me feels like I could have done it a much safer way, could have prepared other projects and jobs and incomes and all sorts of stuff. But there was something in me that was just like, I literally have to just leap right now. I don't know what's going to come next, but there's something in me telling me I have to leap. And I literally just left the country, moved to Costa Rica, left the role, left the job, come into this place in a mountain town where this, I don't know anyone. I know people now, but I didn't know anyone there. And I'm like a whole newbie. There's the closest supermarket's 25 minutes away. It's
beautiful,
not convenient, so to speak. And so this has been one of the most transformational years of my life. I mean, I was saying that about 2022. 2022, I was like, wow, this is the most transformational year of my life. And then 2023 happened, same. And then 24, same. And then like 2025, I think it's going to be wonderful. I feel like I'm even more prepared. Mind you, I said that the years before, but I feel like there's a different kind of energy coming up. But yeah, I've learned to trust, to just jump into these unknowns, because even if it takes a longer time than my ego wants to admit or acknowledge, things do always work out for the best. I'm not sure if I've done the podcast in the same way and had this level of energy and excitement around the podcast if I had not gone here, because this has been a very challenging year and I can't even explain why. It's just been a very strange thing. And now I'm actually just going to go over and jump over to Spain now in February too. So I'm going to take another jump.
Another jump in the water. It's beautiful.
For me, it's like it's a constant practice of trusting the unknown. That's what my life has been like a lot of my life. Actually.
So I want to share a bit about life purpose, because the first time I put words on my life purpose as my life purpose, David Lamka, that was in 2011. I was organizing a big leadership retreat for 250 people, the most inspiring leaders of Chile and some of the world as well. It was amazing. And so we created a methodology with my colleagues and my bosses with whom I was working. And the idea was, okay, let's bring more power to those inspiring positive leaders. Let's help them have a greater impact. So we created this 4-day journey of in the mountains. Work on your shadow, work on your light, share with the whole world who you are. And at some point it was, okay, my life purpose is, and I was a participant as well as working. And I put the word, I help people achieve their dreams, and that led me to very important commitments in my life. I decided, okay, I need to learn methodologies that can help people achieve their dreams. So I studied coaching for a year. After that, in 2012, I studied facilitation, leadership, participative leadership, and so on. So since then, the word purpose has been very important for me. And it was also very mental, very intellectual. There was the ikigai, very important intellectual work. What are you passionate about? What are you really good at? And those questions. But I realized that there are layers of, as everything, we are holistic beings. So yes, there is the mental, there is the body, there is the soul, and we can talk about other levels. But I realized that our purpose, the mind purpose, can get fulfilled more quickly. Maybe it lasts for 3 years, 2 years, 5 years. And then after a while, I'm like, I'm purposeless. What do I do? And it requires a time of thinking again. But if you go deeper into the soul purpose keeps on whispering to us. And the ego can look away and try not to hear it, but it will keep on coming. And I believe from the first 5-7 years of our life already, our soul is talking to us. So I wanted to be an archaeologist. I wanted to learn hieroglyph and be in Egypt to make some discovery. And now I'm passionate about mystical site. I went to Egypt for a month, and I'm an archaeologist of the soul, I would say. But it was already whispering. So I would say it's impossible not to hear your soul whisper and your soul and your purpose at some point. If you're really hard-headed, maybe you'll need an accident, maybe you'll need an illness, maybe you'll need a crisis, to hear it, to see it, to feel it. But it will be there at some point, and that kind of rejoices me when I see people who do not allow themselves to be happy. People who are so comfortable with an okay life that they have an okay job, an okay relationship, that it's okay. Yeah, it's okay. And I feel that sometimes it's kind of sad for me. I'm like, but I wish this person would just, see the beauty that they have inside instead of just kind of putting mud on top of it. But I know deep within that the soul keeps on talking, and the whisper will become louder and louder, and so that brings trust, trust into the process of being human. Whoever we became or we came to become will happen. Maybe last moments, maybe first moments, it doesn't matter, but it will, we will learn what we came to learn.
How can we listen to that soul purpose? How do we listen to it? Not only how do we hear it, but how do we actually listen to it so that we can understand it? Because sometimes I feel like I hear it and I just kind of waft it away, So how can we bring it in?
Why? Because you don't know if it's your mind talking, or why do you discard it?
Well, good point. So, I mean, it really depends. I mean, it's sometimes it's very clear and I focus on it, and sometimes I feel like there's something there and I can get a message, but it's almost like I'm trying to listen to human language in order to get the message. And I know it doesn't come like that. It's a frequency. So it's a practice of being able to translate that frequency into the body so that all of my system understands this message. And sometimes this mental part that's kind of like, yeah, but I can't hear someone saying what you need to do is X. And therefore I'm like starting questioning whether what I'm hearing is right or not for me. So, and yeah, I hear a lot of people talking about things like that as well. So yeah.
I guess the word that comes up right now is intuition. We blocked so much our intuition that's, very likely part of it is here in the third eye, or some. In my first podcast I recorded with a yogi from India, from the Himalaya, and he was saying it's not the third eye, it's the first eye, it's the essential eye. And I was like, wow, yeah, it's the first eye. And then we have those two that come to see what's the 3D and what's physical, but we have a first eye that can perceive much broader, much deeper, and it's so blocked, it's. And I'm going to connect it to fears, because for me the process of confronting fears is so important. Our greatest fears help us become our greatest selves. So when we have those deep fears that we don't know why we have them, and we need to go inside, we need to go to dive deep. And I realized, and I'm going to talk for myself and then expand it to humanity. I realized my deepest fear was that I was really, in fact, a divine being. So yes, I have a spiritual path, and I have my beliefs and my practices. And yes, we know from the quantum science that, yeah, we're all one, we're all connected, and we're all stardust. It's like the knowing. The knowing is like, yes, of course, yes. So yes, I am divine. Obviously, if there is a consciousness that created it all, I am it. But really, truly believing it and experiencing it is another challenge. And I realized that the deepest fear is, what if really, in fact, I am this divine being, and that you are, Steve, and that we all are? That requires a big holy schmoly, because it invites us to a lot of responsibility. So if we are, in fact, creators, co-creators of everything that we experience, what are we going to co-create, And is it going to be of light? Is it going to be of shadow? What kind of power do you have inside that can create beauty or ugliness? And I guess this realization of, I am divine, I am a creator, and this is so freaking scary, and let's freaking do it. So I think this blocks us. This completely blocks our intuition, our capacity to hear our soul whisper, or whatever to call it, the information that is not right in front of our eyes or ears, but that is everywhere around us. So if I don't fear anymore, if I saw my fear and I accepted it, I integrate, okay, then everything becomes, we are everything, we are all one. And then every step, every noise, every sound, every sign, every can be part of this communication from the divine. That's fear number one, that fucks us up, unfortunately. Fear number two that I just want to mention is the fear of life. And my most ancient memory, I'm very likely it's a fetal position, so I'm probably in my mom's belly, and I can feel like a coldness of just, I don't want to live, I don't want to be alive. And I was able to go into those moments, to feel it, to release the tension that was there. And it's been a fear of that's accompanied me my whole life. Fear of life, fear of life. And I think a lot of people have that, So what does it mean to not fear life, to trust life, to embrace life, to rejoice for life? And when we can get to that stage, then it becomes a F yes. Instead of F no, it's F yes, yes. But it's this blockage as well doesn't allow me to fully listen to my intuition, to my soul, to what's next. Because life grows, life expands, life is just, it wants to be experienced in all the colors and all the dances that are possible. And if I want to control it, if I fear life, no. I can't flow. I can let it happen. I can hear it. So what I'm saying, when we can see those fears, those two fears, fear of being divine, fear of life itself, if I can work on them, if I can transcend them, I can become more in tune with all that we're talking about.
We have a certain ceiling of what life is. And if we're looking through certain media channels, it would make a lot of sense that we'd have a lot of fear of life from that perspective. But you're talking more even about you're realizing that there is so much more. Become aware that, okay, I'm a divine being. What does that mean? I'm infinite. I have so much potential. Now, all of a sudden, this small ego is just afraid to step out. So fear of life, for me, I'm just thinking about how the wind is, how nature is just constantly moving in and out and flowing and just never stopping. And something for me as a human, there's a sense of I can go with that flow for a certain while, and then all of a sudden my ego or some part of me seems to want, okay, I just need to stand and ground just for a moment, just to make sure I'm kind of safe right now. And then maybe I'll leap off. But sometimes we end up just staying there and forgetting to continue. And so I seem to go through these waves of enjoying life, trusting life, and then landing, and then forgetting, and then jumping back. That seems to be a flow that at least I've experienced. What about you? Does that make any sense?
It's recognizing that we also need to feel safe. And only living in the unknown, in the mystery of life, in who am I becoming, thanks to my soul calling that I'm listening. And I also need some safety. I also need to feel that my bed is here and I can sleep and I can eat, and it can be an emotional safety, it can be a physical, it can be any kind of safety. But we do need that, or else I guess we become addict to a sensation of not knowing. And now I just remembered I was in a very deep ceremony recently, the heart protocol, and my realization was like, wow, can I become addict to feeling one with the universe? Because it it was so beautiful, it was so pure, it was so wow. It was just, I am one with the universe. Oh my goodness. And so can I be addicted to that feeling that in a way has no need for safety, has no need for security? But then I come back in this body with this amazing ego that we have and that helps us keep safe, And, so how can we have the bubble of safety, and then I can go into expansion zone, the learning zone, and then I can come back when I need to respect that our nervous system needs to be strengthened towards the parasympathetic, and it is not nowadays how most people live their life. How I realized last year, I was very tired, very exhausted, and I realized I was full on sympathetic nervous system, which is anxiety, stress, sleeping disorder, digestion issues, because of the rhythm of life, because of what I've been going through, separation and changing countries. So many reasons, we always have all the reasons in the world to feel stressed, to have no time to run, and so how can we also strengthen our parasympathetic, our vagus nerve, our yes, all is well, all is good. It's like all is good. And I guess ideally we don't need anything to feel safe. It just I'm with myself, I'm present, I can feel the safety. And when I worked with embodiment practices, with primal dancing that you have experienced a few times, I work with the chakras. So the first chakra, the root chakra, has to do with feeling safe. And it has to do with yes to life. In a way, it's just, okay, I'm alive, yes. And just because of that, I can feel safe because I'm alive. And it requires a lot of work. Usually, most people, the first three chakras are where we kind of stuck. We want to feel more love, we want to feel more intuition, but we need to solve the lower issues, the first three floors of our beautiful kingdom that we are. So the first floor is trust. Okay, so means fear. So I face my fears, I face my anger, my violence that I have inside. So I can see them, I can live them, I can experience them, and then I can feel trust, because there is nothing to fear. I already faced my fear, I already felt fear. I already killed whoever I needed to kill, and with a pillow, or imagining that I was so angry and I just beat the shit up of someone, and it releases this energy of, okay, all is well, I'm alive, I'm good. So trust of the first chakra. And then the second is about joy, is about uh, the delicious flavor of life. It's about sensuality, eroticism. But when we are rigid, when we are very masculine oriented in a way of controlling, scheduling, running around, and no time for anything, we become addicted to our work, we become addicted to behaviors that are unhealthy. And we cannot very simply enjoy life. And the third one is about power, and just feeling that I am so powerful that I can create, I can entrepreneur, I can start up, I can lead, whatever, it's like feeling powerful. Yeah. And so working on those first three floors of the kingdom help us then, okay, I can love more, I can connect more with the divine. But it requires, guts, it requires ovaries, it requires bowls, it requires, it requires those elements that just give us our inner strength. And I'm saying ovaries and bowls, so no one gets offended, because it's not masculine, it's not feminine, it's energetical. We all, and I believe we all have bowls, energetical bowls. We all have ovaries and energetical ovaries. Even men, we also have energetical, feminine, the whole Shazam. But it's energetical, so because we have that feminine energy inside of us, and we have that masculine energy, and women the same. So I kind of went to a strange path right now, but
Well, we've got the foundations, right? You were talking
Mhm.
about, yeah, I've gone through a big part of that journey, and it's never ending. Of course, we know that. But I don't know, 10 years ago, maybe a little less, when I went even deeper into that work of really wanting to balance and align and awaken these different chakras. And I remember doing some certain breath work and just like pulling up this energy and just like releasing some of that. And there were times where my mind was just thinking, I'm gonna die, literally, because it's almost like when you dig down into a bucket and you scrape up the very bottom of that stuff, and you're pulling it all the way up, and it comes up here into the head, and that's the ego just thinking, I'm literally going to die. And the first few times I would just sort of switch out of it and go straight back into that space. And then I started recognizing that pattern, and I kept doing this breathing work. And then eventually I got to this point where I could feel and hear that voice almost saying, I'm going to die, I'm going to die. And I just kept holding it there and staying there. And then it just kind of explodes out. But it's just the weirdest feeling to be on the cusp of this ego, the sense that I'm actually losing myself, all these fears that are just being brought to the surface and now being left. And you're right, it takes a certain amount of courage, because the mind switches off at that moment, and you just don't know what to do. But without that foundation of the lower three chakras, how can we really allow these to flourish? I mean, what do you feel about that? I mean, I love your danza primal. Is that right?
In Spanish, yes, that's exactly correct.
So tell me more about the how to open up these higher ones with balancing the lower chakras. Is that correct? What I'm saying?
Hmm. At least in my experiences, in my model that I work with, it's like dreaming to go to the moon, but having no shoes, and having no clothes, so how can you build something amazing or dream something amazing if you don't have the foundation, and the foundation are those lower chakras. And when you look at television, music videos, it all has to do with feeding, news. It all has to do with feeding those first three chakras mostly. So anger, fear, sexuality, power, domination. That's where we're stuck. It's like we're stuck in this model of scarcity, of ego oriented, and it's so beautiful what you're saying, that experiencing a little death of the ego is so important, and we should every day experience death of the ego, in many different ways. So breath work is one way, dancing is one way, making love is one way, uh, doing rituals, and what they would do in many mystical paths is that they would have those ritual to experience death. And in Egypt, for example, where I was recently, they would take, very likely it was blue lotus and big doses, and then they would, for 3 days, they would be kind of left dead in the temple, where they would be dead and rebirth. So it's like be the death and the rebirth of the ego, of the body, of the soul, and they would come back with new information, new wisdom, new knowledge, downloads. So how can we nowadays experience more often little death of the ego, where it still feels safe, where we can still do it, and and we feel like it makes us stronger, more loving. And I'm going to mention the heart protocol that I experienced very recently. I, as you know me a little, I'm into plant medicine. I've worked in Ecuador with an amazing shaman there, in Colombia as well. So a lot of plant medicine and very natural path, like ayahuasca, San Pedro. And the heart protocol is another type of medicine. It's not natural. It's chemical, and it's created by this doctor Sam Lee, and it's a very safe protocol, and it involves ketamine, MDMA, and psilocybin. And this is a total death of the ego, because I did not control anything of that journey. I was just, and I was in all the dimensions at the same time. So I could really experience David being whole and universe, and I could experience David laying down on a bed with the back pain, and I was like, in which dimension is David having back pain? I forgot, and so this was so I guess plant medicine are a beautiful way to have a little death of the ego, or a big one, and from there we can bring more love to our hearts. That's how I describe the plant medicine journey. It's love. It's a path to the heart. That's how I can remember that there is universal love, that we are universal love, and that we can feel it anytime we want. And that's what they do for me. So they help integrate the first chakras. They help work on the foundation. There is some fear, work on it. Okay, so let's look at it. Let's disintegrate it. Let's integrate, disintegrate, transcend, and then leaves room for the heart and for the uppers. So I guess as a tip, it would be, what can you do every day that will challenge you a little bit, as a little death of the ego that wants everything to be planned, to be safe, to be certain, uh, and do it, and maybe it's dancing, maybe it's not knowing what you're going to do today. Okay, you have a lot of work to do. Okay, so why don't you start the day without knowing what you're going to do? Like, and you challenge your ego and find your ways of lovingly challenging your ego, so it can experience a little death, so you can hear better your soul whisper. What's your favorite technique to tune in better?
I guess my constant practice, and it varies how I approach it, but the very core of it is when there's noise, when there's loud emotions, things like that, is to find balance in it. It's not to throw it away, get rid of it, but it's actually to relax, be able to calm my system so much that I can accept it rather than get rid of it. Because as soon as I can accept whatever the energy is, because everything's energy at the end of the day. When I first started doing any of this kind of work, it was emotional work. I was working on anger and the solar plexus and depression and all these kinds of things. And then as I shifted so much of the emotion, I stopped connecting so much with the specific emotions and just started feeling energy as a whole. And that opened so much more. And so really it's just about when I feel I'm not aligned, I'm getting to know myself more. So I know when I feel clear, I know when I'm feeling like fully trusting and fully in that moment. And when I'm not in that, I will just do anything I can to just shift and align that. And then all of a sudden, it's like I know what to do. And sometimes it takes 5 minutes, sometimes it takes 2 days, it's just, you never really know. So it's hard for me to share a specific technique. I have many, but that's the overall approach that I.
And I love how you talk about misalignment. We know. It's like we all know when we are not aligned. We know when we are feeling anxious, angry, or like something is, and I'm not aligned. I know I could feel much an inner feeling, an inner state that is much more comfortable, much more inspiring, much more than what I'm feeling right now. We know. So instead of keep on running on that state, it should be just, like a red alert saying, hey, look here, you're out of balance, you're not aligned. Come back, whatever the time, 5 minutes, 1 day, 2 days, but it's come back to alignment, because that's when you're more loving, more inspiring, more powerful, more at trust, more. That's when life really is the most savory. When I'm disaligned, I'm 80% of who I truly could be at the moment, or 60%, and so beautiful way of let's realign.
And alignment doesn't necessarily mean it's just all smooth and perfect all the time, because when we're learning something new, we can be super aligned. But I think that's part of the control in the media. They train us into so much stress and fear that when there comes to this healthy stress and fear, for example, learning a new musical instrument, learning podcasting, whatever the skill might be, learning how to paint, there's a healthy stress in that, because literally there's no neurons fired right at this moment. So I'm like learning this skill, I'm aligned, I'm very, very excited to do this thing. But I've got the physical mechanisms that I need to figure out. My brain is now going into stress mode, but that's while it's trying to connect these neurons so that it can hold and maintain these neurons. In that stress mode, I'm still aligned, but sometimes we're so trained to feel the stress that when we go into that, to step into something new, we actually just connect that stress with stress, illness, bad, I'm going to die, I'm going to get sick, or whatever it might be. We need to separate that somehow. And it takes practice. It takes this constant alignment, and then you can start to sort of separate what's this kind of false stress. Don't really have a term for that, but this kind of Fake.
Maybe excitement, like stress and excitement are very, very close to each other in
Mm,
terms of energy.
yeah.
So maybe sometimes we confuse one and the other, and for me, dealing with stress is very challenging, and because it awakens, as you said, it awakens the whole nervous system, ancient memories of what stress means. So it's hard to see the positive stress, if I can say that like that, or the excitement to a new project where I need to learn new things and I'm going to make mistakes and I'm going to learn and grow more than ever. But it's still related with stress of, and probably of survival, a very ancient stress of survival, that if I don't know something, I might die. So, and it's part of the scarcity uh, model we live in. So if I don't know something, I might die. Uh, and that comes from probably our ancestors and ancestors. So how can learning to do a podcast or whatever the skill is, to do something new and beautiful and challenging, bring us an inner state of woohoo, okay, yeah, instead of fuck, I'm gonna die again.
Mm. Yeah, it's like a constant, I don't want to use the word test, but there's this constant test of like, how committed are you to this thing that you feel really brings you joy? The moment I switched and just made that, decision, when you make a decision and everything changes. You can't fake a decision. You
Mm.
either make the decision or you don't make the decision. The moment that decision was made around, I'm going to switch the button on making a podcast. It's been on my mind for a long time. But the moment I made that decision, my energy I just felt like, man, this feels amazing. I already know this is the right thing to do. This feels great. But I had to take that first step in order to fully feel that energy, because otherwise I'm on this side of the fence. But as I take these steps, you find, oh, I know I have to figure out this platform, and now I have to figure out the booking, and I have to figure out this stuff and the thumbnail and all these different things. And they're little tests to see how much do you want this energy that you've just shown through your decision. You could shut it down and just give up and then just go back to whatever you were doing before. Or you could just keep going through and learning these new skills, because actually that just keeps unfolding this amazing feeling, which feels like a purposeful feeling. I don't want to just use the word purpose just for the hell of it, but that energy when you step into something that you know is good for you.
Mm.
I don't know how exactly fully. I have some ideas, but I know that this energy, I recognize it from before. I've really dived deep into certain projects, and it's transformed my life just through going through the whole journey of that. What does that bring up for you?
I feel like challenges it's not the only way to grow, but it is a very important way to grow as human beings. The challenges we set ourselves, the challenges we receive that just happen to us. Without challenges, we very likely wouldn't grow much. So, you can grow through pain and through love. You can grow through challenges or through pleasure as well. So how to find the pleasure into those challenges? How to rephrase and reframe the ego that feels it's going to die, because that's how it was wired in very ancient system. When we are in a new system, and we are creating the new system of quantum physics, of everything is divine, everything is possible, we are all one. So we have this supraconscious guiding us towards this growth. And yes, challenges, woohoo, I'm going to become a greater version of me, and this is going to be shared and impact the world, or I'm going to love more, I'm going to get more, whatever the goal is. So how the supraconscious that guides us towards more love and more expansion and more consciousness can have this healthy inner dialogue and conversation with the conscious and unconscious to get everyone on board. It needs a whole village to educate a child. we are a whole village inside as well, you know. So we need to talk with the whole village in order to align everyone on what is life and what is safe and what is love and what is growth. And so this inner work with the inner characters, those sub characters of who we are, and it's so beautiful, it's so powerful. And the more I can have those healthy conversation with my inner part, where instead of shutting them down, I say hello and I embrace them, and I listen to their needs. Oh, you need to be safe. Oh, you need to be seen. Okay, so what if while I do this new project, this new endeavor, in order for you to feel safe, we're gonna do meditation every morning. We're gonna still work part time in a job that gives me the safety, so I can work part time into something that is completely uncertain and unsafe. No, so I can hear those voices. I can give them what they need, and usually all those inner voices, sub characters, are ignorant. You know, they're little children, so they're used to cry and shout and pull the rope to get what they need. So how can we educate them in a healthy way, so they don't need to cry and shout and pull, but they can receive what they feel they need in a more evolved way? What do you think about? Yeah,
Well,
what's been the inner work for you that was a before and after? What was the experience, the tool, the moments in your process that was just woohoo, life is different now?
wow, many of those. I feel called to just share the first initial thing that I feel was the catalyst for me getting into this work. Now, I know there's many other versions of how I've overcome different things and become a different person. But what got me into this in the first place was I was just down in a real depressive state. It was affecting my relationships. I was just in this space, but I also had this internal anger. I'm not an angry person, but there was this fire in my solar plexus. And so it was a mixture of these two things. And I realized it was affecting my life. And I just wanted to shift that. And I didn't know anything about spirituality. I didn't know any tools, techniques, or anything like that at all. And I found, among other things, I found EFT tapping initially. So I used that to shift the anger. And that naturally got me into that space of the more I shifted that. It probably took me about 4 years to that got to this point where I actually looked back and went, oh, I haven't felt that feeling, which was almost on all the time before that. And then all of a sudden I just realized it's not there anymore. This is amazing. And it's never been there ever since. So I really know that it's possible to shift these intense emotions that we have built up, and they're not all mine. You know, they're collective. They're from programming and from our bloodlines and all of these sort of things. And so when I shifted that, I mean, that also is what led me to the service of working with people one-to-one, working with people in groups. It's not because I made a decision to do that necessarily. It was because once I shifted that energy space opened up, and other people could now walk through that door and say, "Oh, you've balanced yourself within this space. I need your help. You know, can you help me to shift that?" And that's also was a catalyst to realize that's why I need to keep doing this inner work. I think this is where we started before is this inner knowing that the more I do this inner work, the more I can serve. If I stop at any point, I just can't. And I don't expand myself, and I don't serve or can contribute to other people as well. So, for right or wrong, it feels like this is a big part of my journey.
And in the end, it's the power of going in. It's the power of listening. It's the power of feeling. The power of self-realization that opens doors, opens possibilities, creates synchronicity, or allows to see the synchronicities, that allows to feel, oh, I need to stop doing this and I need to start doing that. And And I guess awakening is so, for me, it's such an important subject. How can I help more people awaken to their divine self,
Mm.
divine being? And you asked me what is next for you. So one of my scariest dream I've been having for many years, dream in the sense of life dream, life goals, but it's an experience. It's a performance experience that involves all the senses, all the elements, fire, water, air. That involves technology as well. It involves music, sound, visuals. It involves embodiment, movement, but also you will be sitting and just receive. So that's, and I see it as, because that's what moves me deeply. How can I help people awaken? So the idea is, if there are people in a room, 5, 10, 2,000, whatever the number is, and they can have that experience of feeling and remembering their heart and their divine connection, and be like feeling for a moment their wholesomeness, and remembering who they truly are. Then they can go back home, and then they can decide whatever they want. But this would be and this will be the little pulse of awakening, that and that's why I started DJing ecstatic dance, and I started playing music, and I created a song a few days ago, where I played a piano I've never played. I'm learning, but it's just coming out right now. It's like, I need to create music. I need to create those sound journeys where it will help people awaken and feel their heart and their divine self. And so I do not know where it's going to take me either. But the tipping point was realizing that I was postponing those biggest dreams because I was so scared of them. So I would always find a reason to say, next year, next month, next year. And when I did a list of the wow life I want to experience, with all the actions and work and projects that I did in the past, that I am doing, and that I want to do. And then simple scale, 10 is wow, so much satisfaction. And 1 is none. I realized I was dedicating a lot of time to my 6 and 7, which is, it's okay, which is the okay life that many people are fine with. But it was not enough. And then I realized, okay, those 2 projects, and podcasting is the other one. Those 2 projects that I feel it's like vibrant and is going to give me a 10. I'm not doing shit for that. Well, why? So behind those deepest fears comes the greatest growth, comes the greatest challenge, and also very likely it's what we are meant to be doing if we want our life to be authentically unique, authentically ours. It's to to go into those fear and the action that comes right after that decision that suddenly you feel, wow, yeah. So yeah, my podcast is called Next Evolution, and I started at the same time as you, basically, a few months ago. And what's guiding me is we are on the tipping point of, we need to decide which evolution we want. So the one Silicon Valley governments and companies show us, it's one, and it's very clear. This is the one that where it's going. So can we create another type of evolution, and can we evolve at a fast pace? And for me, it has to do with spirituality. So how can we strengthen so much, or awaken, remember our spiritual self, so it develops a new type of evolution that is not only the one from science fiction, but is the one from, let's call it loving fiction, or how can we call that, spiritual fiction? Yeah, I like that, spiritual fiction. Something like that.
where you don't have the good versus bad. You mean something something different, more balanced? Is that what you're talking about?
Mhm. Yeah.
I've heard people talking about that. You know, about say this kind of old paradigm, all the movies around good versus bad and all of that stuff, and we're so addicted to that story. And even me now, it's like I see that pattern. But what would films be like without that kind of conflict? It's almost hard to imagine. Would the film really be fun in any way? I don't know if it's needed to be there or it needs to just shift in a certain way. Because if you take out that, I mean, I guess it's light versus dark, right? There's always that light versus dark, but it doesn't have to be fighting. I think that's the thing. They're fighting together. Whereas we're talking about the light versus dark, we're embracing the light, we're embracing the dark and going through it all. I mean, I have no idea what I'm talking about right now. I'm just trying to unravel something in my mind about
I'm
like trying to make sense of this.
I'm imagining light making love with the shadow, and just it comes as a fusion of just let's all make love in this, because we cannot we cannot fight polarity. Eh, Polarity, duality is just, it's part of how universe expanded. It's part of everything. It's part of us, dark matter, matter, masculine, feminine, moon, sun, sympathetic, parasympathetic, left, right hemispheres. It's just the duality is everywhere. That's what makes our cells. That's what makes everything grow. So accepting polarity, duality, accepting we have and we are both at the same time. So from there, what kind of different love story can we tell? Can we write about? Can we make movies about? Recognizing, yes, we have dark, we have light. Light, they have this definition of light is the absence of light. So it's nothing really, because when light is, there is no darkness, So it's like light brings the unity. Light. So how can we integrate? How can we integrate those two in a dance? Dancing is, so important for me in my life. Dancing connects me with life, with joy, with the divine. So how can we dance between those two in a love story that will feel inspiring? So we can say, F yes, I'm gonna build that world. I'm gonna work for that type of of story. I'm gonna go watch that movie. Avatar 25. What's the love story of where they don't have to shoot at everyone and burn the planet or whatever? Mm. And I guess that brings us to the principles of Tao. Of It's like going back to the essence, to the source, to before there is anything, before there is polarity, there is the oneness. Hmm. To be to be written, to be followed soon.
Mm. Have you ever had a Kundalini awakening?
At the moment I had that experience, I had not known the name Kundalini, nor, I guess, awakening, yes. But yes, I had an experience that was unique, that helped me change my life from being very destructive, in inner destruction, outer destruction, partying, crazy sports, adrenaline oriented sports, where I hurt myself so many times, I broke so many bones, and feeling purposeless, feeling just, I don't know. And that awakening came the story is beautiful because it comes from an accident where I was paralyzed for a week in Argentina, and language Spanish that I could barely speak at the moment. And I went to a therapist, and she helped me put my back straight again, and I started feeling like crazy energy moving inside of me for a couple of days, and it was pure love. And it was like, wow, like universal love, and also clarity in the next step. It was like I could hear my soul whisper for the first time. It was just very clear and loud. And I was like, you have to organize conferences, David, right now. That's one part of the story. The other part is that I had a girlfriend at the moment. Uh, she went on a pilgrimage with a group of Catholic people, and she was looking for God. She was looking for her faith, for her spirituality. And she started praying, and the whole group of youngsters she was with, they started praying for me, so I could also understand this experience. And we both had an awakening the same day. I was in Argentina, she was in China, Tibet, in the Himalayas, the mountains. And I had no explanation to my experience apart. Well, I felt and had some crazy feelings. And so for a while, I took the path of Catholicism because she told me that's, well, it's Jesus, it's the church. And so I went on that path. And that's when I realized I'm so spiritual, and that I'm willing to go every morning at 7 a.m. to mass to have an experience that makes me feel closer to God. And then I would go on retreats, and so thanks to that experience, I realized how much spirituality is important for me, and how that took me to listen to my soul calling, organizing conferences. That took me to know business leaders in Europe. That was 15 years ago, 17, 18 years ago. And then I organized retreats for them. Then I went to Chile to organizing retreat. I mean, it just took me on the whole journey of consciousness and growth and beautiful life was from that moment. And now when I look back at it, it was a Kundalini awakening, because I could feel really the energy moving in me, and it was strange, and it felt good, and it was like, wow. And I will never know, was it the accident? Was it the group praying for me, 20,000 miles, kilometers away from me? And it doesn't matter. Truth doesn't, in that case, it's probably, as usual, it's not or, it's and. And I love that paradigm of and. I don't need to decide one or the other. It's, let's have it all. Let's have both of it. They both had their weight into who I am right now, and that moment was. I wish it for everyone, and that's probably, I guess, that's where I want to get to with the performance, the show that I mentioned you. That I want people to awaken. I want people to have that fucking amazing experience of having a before and after in their life, where it will generate so much satisfaction, so much growth, so much awe, so much love, and it's like, if this is our birthright to have that experience, if this is why we came as souls, and it seems like some soul didn't come only exactly for that, but let's facilitate experiences that so it can happen. Thank you for this question.
I see the world changing so much right now, especially in the last few years. The leadership that's been up until this point, I really see it's like really shifting. I don't see the same leaders that were there for the last, well, I don't know how many years, but up until, say, last year, the year before, around 2020 or something like that. There's a more conscious leader coming in, rather than this very intellectual, action-driven, constant, just driving force. I'm curious, your experience, because you work with teams to do leadership, right? All around the world. What do you notice that's needed with the leaders of today?
I wrote a book about conscious leadership And I called it transformational leadership because we need leaders who are capable of generating conscious transformation in their companies, in their people, in society. And writing this book was an observation of all my experiences I've had with extraordinary leaders I worked with, I accompanied in some cases, just very inspiring conscious leaders who were questioning the status quo, the business as usual, and doing it differently. And it was a beautiful big part of my journey into coaching, into business consulting. And this past year that I kind of let go of many things, I also kind of let go of am I really called to work with leaders? And because I feel like it does have some limitation. The the return on investment, needs to be always just so quantified and so proven and so seen that I think it's great. Yes, we need return on investment. Yes, we need to be able to see the changes, but also having only this as a measurement is not ideal. So I still work a lot with leaders and co-founder from Switzerland, a CEO from a big company in Chile, from the US as well. And I guess for me, the challenge is how can I help them, teams that work together, how can I help them see their pain, see what's really painful and that you don't want to see, that you don't want to feel, like see what's the, and once you can see that pain, okay, let's see the light, see the shadow, see the light. So the duality, and connect with your light to solve the challenges, to grow differently. And I've been working with companies that are very beautiful. Like they're already very like they really want to be self-aware and conscious. They have beautiful values that guide them. And so it's been a gift the past few years to work with those companies. I've worked with all type of companies, big banks, and yeah, it is a challenge. I feel more and more called towards the spiritual side of people. I want to talk to their soul. I want to help people connect with their soul, and to have that language in a company. Yes, in some companies you can talk like that. Most of them you cannot. So how can we bridge? How can everyone be a bridge towards that type of conversation? Where humanity is celebrated, where wholeheartedly you can be this imperfect, beautiful spiritual being at home, but also at work. It's an endless journey, endless challenge. What have you seen? Because what have you seen lately that has sparked your inspiration into that world of leadership?
I just noticed the shift. There's been such a big dark cloud around people getting away with lying, with bullshit, with inauthenticity, and kind of manipulation and control, and just using that intellectual power to control people. And I've noticed more than ever, especially in 2024, I started noticing around April time, there was something shifted. I mean, I don't know if it was the eclipse or why, but something shifted, and all of a sudden I just kept seeing all over the place, like this whole thing just falling apart, and people just the lies and the manipulation and all this stuff that's not true just can't be hidden anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that it's really hard to explain, like how that's happening, but it's just something I'm noticing without knowing the answer. And I'm just wondering now, because we're stepping again into the unknown, a lot of people don't really know what to do now, because this this old way of doing it doesn't work. But there's other people that have been working in the background, I believe, as quiet leaders for years and years and years, not feeling like they have a place in this world, not knowing, understanding what the hell's going on. And all of a sudden, I feel like this door's going to open, and all these people that have been unexpectedly preparing, maybe doing this deep inner work, they're actually just going to step into this field and be like, oh my God, I'm the leader right now. Like, we are this new generation of leaders. And I feel that there's this shift happening. And I'm an inquiry, right? So I don't know the answer to any of this. It's more, this is why I like these podcasts, because I love to just explore these topics that I don't necessarily know the answer.
I want to share a little anecdote that happened to me in December. I gave a workshop to a team at Facebook online, and they were reading a book called Leading with Heart. Beautiful title, Leading with Heart, from a very famous coach. And so I was reading the book, and some people at Facebook are applying this model, in teams. So, and I was reading, and I was like, yeah, of course. It's like everything I was reading was very, I don't want to say basic, but very like grounded and rational, but very known to me. Like, wow. And that's what many teams are doing right now. They're working on this model. So that inspired me of, I need to write a new book because it needs to be a next chapter of leadership. And I feel like the next step is the holistic. So what does it mean to be a holistic leader? What does it mean to body, mind, and spirit? And have those three-legged capacity to be as strong as the other one, So we can go into this new era with the curiosity and the certainty of the mind, with the openness of the heart, and the connection with the whole. And I'm positive, as I was saying earlier. It's like I feel psyched. I feel that a lot of beauties are gonna just start blooming, flowering. So new people coming in power, feeling like, oh, I'm a leader. Okay, how do I do differently? Yeah, we're gonna make it. We're gonna make it in a beautiful way, I think. This transition towards whatever we decide this new evolution is gonna be.
Yeah. Well, more people that talk about this. I love that all of this kind of these general conversations have just become sort of second nature for people now. They're so used to hearing about energy and balance and alignment and all of this stuff. It just wasn't really part of the language 10 years ago plus, before that. So I'm really excited about that. What you just shared now also reminded me about your work with the Danza Primal, is aligning these chakras and around this leadership thing that we're talking about. A lot of, let's just put it as like this upper, it's not the third eye, I wouldn't say, but it's this mental aspect, this brain, this very physical brain thing where there's a lot of intensity there. And that's where a lot of leadership has been sort of fueled from, is this space. And it's breaking down because we're expanding more into this awareness that we are multidimensional beings. We're in this space of consciousness where actually matter is nothing really, it's negligible. And some people are driving from, say, the power center. Like, I'm just going to just control people with my power. And so they may be overcharged in this chakra, the third one. And some people are maybe overcharged in the brain space, not necessarily, like I said, the third chakra, but just up in this mental space. And they're able to control because people that are a little weaker, they they just go along with that programming. And I think that's what the media are doing. The media is breaking down because people are getting stronger. They're tapping more into the heart. And it's not so much about going into the heart now, just the heart, but as we do that on a more consistent basis, all of these seem to come into balance. It's not a finite source. We're not just moving a certain amount of energy from up here to down here to down here. We're creating a full balance in each of those chakras. And when that happens, we can have a bigger overview of the world and leadership. And we actually have a lot more power and strength. And we know just what to do. And we have a sense of connection with all the people and the value of every single individual in our teams as leaders. So yeah, it feels like the more we can balance these chakras through doing work like yours, for example, we can actually not get so sidetracked into one simple way of thinking. You do this work with leaders as well, right? The chakra work, the movement.
I need to feel deeply this this answer. Our whole model of companies, of how we described success until very recently, was a very masculine oriented energy, yin yang, masculine, feminine, nothing to do with gender. It's just the energy that we can connect with and that is stronger in us or in an organization. So if we want to achieve, or if we wanted to achieve a lot of goals in the past, we needed a lot of masculine energy. So predicting the future, controlling the outcomes, the actions, and we would succeed the best. At least that's what we thought. And based on masculine, more men leading, on the patriarchy. So that's the I forgot the word, but the point, the uppest point of masculine energy, and as we can see it in companies. And we idealized every leader, every CEO who could generate those income, those returns on investment, and those outcome based on their masculine energy. And that also left the door open for psychopath who are manipulative, seducing, lying. And so we have a lot of psychopath in power around the world. If we look at some politicians, some CEOs, So right now, what the world is asking for and wanting and desiring is more feminine energy in our companies. And there was this amazing study made a few years ago. I talk about it in my book. And they interviewed, let's say it's about 70,000 people, 70,000 people around the world, all the countries. And they all described what the leadership was, and kind of all the countries and all the people kind of agreeing on those qualities, and what are the qualities of the leadership that's needed right now to confront all those challenges we have. So it goes from control to flexibility, uncertainty. It goes from action driven to people driven. There is this big change, and basically it's transitioning from masculine energy to more feminine energy. And the answer will not be either or, it will be both. We need this dance between the masculine and the feminine. But the system right now has been so rigged towards masculine energy that we need to have a big shift, or a reset, or whatever the word is. But it really needs to, and very likely when we do that in life, when we go the other way, we might go too much, so we might go too much in the feminine energy, which it values so much relationship and people's feeling and input, that maybe we'll spend more time talking and listening to each one and we should be making decisions already. We're losing money, and but John or Fernanda hasn't spoken yet. So we might go into the other extreme of feminine, and that's okay. That's how we learn also. The invitation is to realize in which polarity I am as a leader. Very likely you'll be more masculine, but and accept it, see it as something beautiful, powerful, that led you towards where you are at, and which are the capacity and qualities of the feminine energy that you need to either learn, strengthen inside of you so you can lead differently. And some people might not be able to do it, and maybe we need to just let go of people who are actively going against more balanced companies, more conscious companies. And I'm going to quote an extraordinary business leader from Chile that I worked with in the past. I interviewed for my book, and he says, when he's part of the board of so many companies in Chile, and he says, when I arrive and I want to have a conscious group, conscious company, and it's a challenging task because the board is not necessarily aligned with that, but he starts cutting heads. Basically, he starts looking at the beginning, who is going to be against this plan, and he lets go of people so he can put people who will be aligned with this vision. So it's kind of, it's a little extreme, but it shows that if we want to generate the changes that we are hoping for, it might hurt some people. It might do some damage. Some people might lose their job. Some people will invest more time and resources into things that maybe seemed completely useless until recently. So allowing ourselves to make mistakes on that path, but wanting to choose that path. And if I'm on the opposite, I'm so feminine, let's go more masculine. So this whole, the integration of the whole of the parts.
Yeah, one thing I noticed is sometimes we realize we need more feminine leadership. And then what I've seen, I'm not saying this is always the case, but I've seen that then the feminine, because we're so programmed into this split thinking in this society right now, is the feminine think, oh, the feminine is the woman, whereas we have masculine femininity in all of us. And then the women then go to, oh, we need more women leaders. So then they jump in and do this thing, but then they just go straight into the masculine energy. And kind of lose the beauty of that flow of the magic and the creativity of that feminine energy. Now, okay, I'm not saying this is for everyone, like I said, but sometimes see this pattern. Now, that's something I feel we need to shift greatly, because then we're getting confused again. We're going, it's too masculine over here, so we need more feminine energy. Okay, let's bring in more women, and then they go into more masculine energy. And so then, so where's this feminine balance? So we do need to find this because there's need for action, but there's also a need for this creative flow, just to simplify both sides. Is that something you see as well?
I guess the question is, why do women enter into their masculine energy when they step into power places? Why suddenly they feel that they have to be a certain archetype, a certain way? And I'm guessing there's so much insecurity behind being a woman, behind being feminine in the workplace, that with this energy, I will not feel valued, I will not feel respected, I will not feel, I will be stepped on. And probably because in the past, that's how it was. So how can we transition that, how can we transform that fear? And that, for me, from my dancing and chakra based point of view, we need to face the fears. We need to go into why are we so afraid of our feminine energy? Or for some, why are we so afraid of our masculine energy? How can we step up into this divine masculine, divine feminine as a whole, you know? And just as a quick example, I have a very strong feminine energy of empathy, listening, valuing so much the relationship. And behind that, there is a wound as well, you know, the wound of wanting to be loved. I want everyone to be okay, so I'm not going to be judged. And so there is a wound that I had to work on and I had to see, so I could also embrace more my feminine energy and be like, okay, this is actually positive and good. And but also I'm a man, so I need to strengthen my masculine energy. And it has been also a challenge. So why am I so fearful of being angry? Anger is very easily attached to the masculine energy because it's the energy that moves you towards shouting, towards saying no, you know, putting limits, or also go for your dreams and like, I'm going for it. And so a little anger is a beautiful emotion. So I was fearing that anger. I was, you know, putting it down, 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 down. So the path has been for me, let's look at those wounds that do not allow us to be fully our best selves. And we are all meant to be loving, and we are all meant to be powerful. We are all meant to be creative. We are all meant to be intuitive, you know, we are all meant to be courageous. And this is not masculine or feminine. This is actually, it's like the center. It's the center of the body, the center of the energy centers. So when I'm in those centers, men, women, masculine, feminine energy, it doesn't matter. So we can embrace those. So let's do the work, brother.
That's it. Yeah, it's our duty to. It also brings up this idea of going back to that point. If a woman, using this example, goes into that workspace to bring in this feminine leadership, that they have to bring in this masculine aspect. I mean, of course, we're going to need parts of that. We're going to need parts of this. But if the men are so wanting to be in control, that they're actually going to they're making it harder for the feminine to come in and be the feminine, because it's up to us. It's definitely on my journey. Big part of the masculine and feminine is we need to learn to receive the feminine, because we are not very good at receiving the feminine, largely speaking. So the more that the masculine in the power can receive that feminine, then we can actually allow that feminine leadership to come in and actually dance with it, and not be a fight of like, oh, it should be me. No, it should be me. Well, why can't it actually just be a very intelligent and aware flow of realizing that there's this dance of masculine and feminine, being aware when there's time for me to take action, when there's time for you to take action. And it's not just because I'm a man that I'm the one that has to do the hands-on work and do this. You know, there's a time and a place, and there's a real fine line to finding that sweet spot. But I think it does start. I mean, especially I can only speak from my own personal responsibility. I am a man. I don't know what it's like to be a woman. So I know my responsibility is to keep on surrendering and keep on practicing receiving that feminine energy, because we're so programmed for it to be a threat to us.
And I will say, the feminine energy challenges so much the masculine in its ways, you know, where it doesn't have boundaries. It expands. It brings abundance and beauty, and it doesn't matter how much, you know, it doesn't matter how long. It's just, so the masculine energy fears that. It's, so I really understand. I don't know how many thousands of years ago it was that men were so fearful of the feminine energy, that they thought we need to control this, or we don't know what's going to happen to the planet. Maybe we'll die of hunger, or I don't know what. But at some point, men have decided consciously, unconsciously, we need to control this energy. We need to demonize it. Because it challenges us so much. And I love the challenge it brings, because the feminine energy, I feel that's where we heal. That's really when you are in a circle and everyone is cared for, listened to, and you can share your authentic self. That's when you heal. And this feminine energy is just, and we all need to heal something. We all need to. In the end, we connect with our heart and our soul. That's what healing is, really. So how can men develop either the desire to be challenged? Yes. Yes. Let's be challenged by the feminine energy. The curiosity to be challenged by the honoring whatever that is. I don't understand it. I don't know it. It makes me scared, and being able to, even with all of that, to honor that blissful, amazing energy that we all have, and especially women bring it to our planet. And it comes back to know thyself. It comes back to inner work. It comes back to capacity to communicate healthily, consciously, boundaries, desires. That's where tantra or conscious communication, conscious sexuality, agreements enter. It's like they help us create the relationships of the future. They help us put all the items on the table that is important, not important. We put everything on the table and we can talk about it. We can choose what we want, what we don't want. And let's bring it back let's bring that back to leadership and companies, and okay, we want more feminine energy. So what does it mean to be able to talk about it? Like business leader meetings, let's talk about feminine energy here. Maybe we need to find another name, it needs to be some other kind of name that is not gonna challenge even more the masculine or the people in the company. But okay, so what does it mean to really embody that? What do we fear about that? What is possible if we do it? Right now, a lot of news are talking about diversity, equality, because of the fires in the US. This is so freaking crazy. There are fires in LA, and what they're managed to talk about on the news is blaming the woman leader of the firefighters because she's lesbian and because she brought DEI, I think, courses and programs. So there will be more women, more feminine energy, and now that's what they criticized. The wildfires are because diversity, equality. And so anyway, this is where we are at still. There are still people, very likely more men, but people who are just challenging the idea that we need more women in power, that the feminine energy, without putting that name on it, but that the feminine energy can help our society and our companies grow in a way that is more sustainable, maybe more successful in terms of finances, and there are amazing studies all over to tell you that conscious businesses that are more feminine energy oriented, they achieve more in terms of financial outcomes. So the path is long, but I don't know if we have the time. I don't know if we have the time to. It's a lot of, oh man, it's a lot of challenges at the same time. It's how, and now I understand, and I'm connecting with my little sister. She's 13 years old. My little niece. They're. What kind of world are they seeing? They're on their phone most of the day, and the emotional, spiritual feeling inside must be like, what are we going to do? If I'm not an influencer on TikTok, what the heck am I going to do? This planet is going to blow up. People are stupid, or so how can we keep our enthusiasm? How can we keep our inspiration? How can we keep our connection to the divine and feeling sense of purpose amidst all this craziness around, and be a shining light, a light that can say, hey, something different is possible. Another way of looking, another way of talking, another way of doing is possible. Without losing faith, without losing trust, without beautiful times to come.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any final messages or anything you want to share around any of the topics we've spoke about?
When I don't know, I breathe in and connect to my heart,
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that's one tip, I want to leave people with. You don't need to know everything. It's absolutely okay not to know. Breathing in deep, feeling your heartbeat. Something wiser will come out of it. Something wiser than answering right away will emerge. And having that realization, giving yourself the time to do so, and value that. Value this 5 seconds or 10 or minutes or 2 days, whatever the time is needed, so I can come back in my alignment, which is the place where I can consciously decide I need more masculine energy right now, or I need more feminine energy. If I'm in my daily rhythm, it might be pure masculine and mind, or for some pure feminine. But we do need, life is inviting us and evolution is inviting us to be whole beings, to be really, to integrate those two polarities. And for that, we need to have the capacity to step back, look at ourselves, and okay. And we have that little whisper, maybe of the soul, telling us more this or that. And so it's not fully our mind, fully ourselves. And our mind is like an antenna, no? We capture so many frequencies, as you were saying earlier. My anger was probably not even mine, because yes, we have anger from the collective, from the people around us, from the news, from the country, so we have those antennas, like receiving so much freaking information, so much noise, so much. So how can we make sense of all of it? How can we discern what is true, what is authentic, what is mine, what is good for my growth and the community's growth and the society?
What do you want to experience in life?
Oh boy. Are we talking in bed? Are we talking at home, at work?
Tune in, because I know there's going to be a million things you want to experience. So just what comes to mind right now, something simple.
The first word that comes now has to do with abundance and scarcity. And I experience a very strange mystery about money and abundance, because I always have everything that I need through different ways. Sometimes it's work and income and pay. Sometimes it's friends lending me their houses. Sometimes it's, I live like a millionaire with a bank account that is definitely not of a millionaire, So for me, it's still a mystery of, did I come to learn in this life? Did I come to learn how to make more income? How to be able to pay everything for myself instead of receiving gift from people around. Did I learn to come to have 6, 7, 8 zeros on my bank account? Or did I learn to come to flow and see abundance everywhere as nature is, just pure giving, giving? And I guess the answer will be, it's not or, it's and. It's how can I see life as so abundant, so giving, so gifting, and at the same time as understanding what economics is, what finance is, and to be able to plan. My feminine energy doesn't give a shit about planning and doing budget and financial education. So it's way out of my comfort zone to dedicate. And this afternoon, I'm going to spend 2 hours to budgeting, and it's really a challenge for me, So, and I'm doing it consciously. Okay, there's something to learn. If it's so challenging, there's something to learn. And yes, my feminine side doesn't give a shit about that, and I want to flow and just life is so good with me. And also, what does it mean to be whole and integrated with that? So I can also have the masculine who understands it and feels comfortable with it. So whatever the outcome is integrated, is holistic, is heartfelt. So to answer your question, I will very much enjoy realizing at some point what was it that I came to learn about finance and abundance. One day I will be like, of course, that's what I was supposed to. I'm not there yet, So I leave the door open to the mystery, to learning, to challenge myself, to grow, and we will see what happens from there.
Do you want to experience clarity?
Masculine energy, clarity. I need to be clear.
What's an area of life you want to grow into over the next few years, perhaps?
I love sharing my medicine. I am medicine. You are medicine, Steve. We all are medicine when we are fully in ourselves, when we are fully embodied. We are medicine for everyone around us. From all that we experienced, all that we feel and know. And so I honor the medicine that I am, and I want to share myself the best way, the greatest, most inspiring way I can. And yesterday I gave a workshop where I'm creating a new methodology. It involves primal dancing and chakras, but also it involves free dancing, and soon it will involve the mystical ritualistic side of the planet. So I'm in the creative mode of, it's time to put a new methodology out there that has to do with evolution. And so yesterday I gave the workshop, and there were 2 people, and I was like, this is fucking awesome. There are 2 people who came, and I'm sharing this new methodology. I created it for last night, and so I think the capacity to be so happy with 2 people, and the capacity to be so happy when there will be 1,000, 10,000, who knows, it's the masculine energy wants more people, wants more KPIs, like of quantity, of the feminine energy just loves to share with whoever is there and who wants to receive, So again, I come back into that integration of both, of the best of both worlds. Let's create amazing, beautiful methodologies, healing processes, startups, businesses, projects, social impact ideas. Let's create from this feminine side of, we can do so many, and then also, okay, let's bring the masculine into how can we expand it more, because we need more people awakening right now. This is my dream. I want more people having that Kundalini awakening So how can more people experience that is a beautiful and challenging question. And to feel at peace with whatever the answer is, it's like, yes, I can want or desire more money, more impact, more people, more anything. And that's the mind. The ego and the mind always wants more, never satisfied. So recognizing that, and also and I'm okay if it turns out completely differently, and if it's less, and if it's different, and that's the feminine that embraces. How about you, brother?
The growing part.
How you
Growing.
see, yeah.
It's more of an action thing. I want to get back into martial arts, kung fu. That's a skill I want to develop further. It's where I want to grow more into, because, as you just said, that brings me joy. It's there's a level of letting go, feminine aspect. There's a masculine aspect. It's all of it, right? The kung fu. So it's one of the best teachers for me to get into that space, and I just want to improve upon that. So that's one of the main things, and I want to get even better at Spanish. How would
Muy
you?
bien.
How would you like to contribute to the world?
Being myself the most I can. Within my medicinal journeys, within my past few months, transcending challenges into gifts for life, feeling more myself than ever. And I could not have discovered and prioritized me in a relationship with other. So to be so fully authentically myself that I can just I love being me. And from this love of being oneself, being myself, it's very natural to just to share it with the rest. And the more that can happen, the more it ignites others to be truly themselves, to be truly authentically alive. And if that can happen every day, starting a little spark, this little spark of that challenges, brings growth and brings love. But if I can be that for myself and for other people every day, I can live and transcend life very, very satisfactorily, very happily.
Yeah, we take for granted how much of a contribution just being fully tapped into our authentic selves is actually for the world. Such an amazing contribution. There isn't really much else to do if that's really there and aligned. Thank you so much for your time, David. And how can people find you? You've got a book as well, so please just lay all the stuff that you've got out there.
Thank you for the invitation, Steve. I thrived and enjoyed thoroughly this space with you right now. Thank you. And you can find me on Instagram at David Lamka. My book, The 5 Virtues of Transformational Leader, is on Amazon and other platforms as well. I am organizing a retreat every April. Last year, 2024, this year, 2025, and so on, in Turkey. And we go to the most ancient ritualistic place of the planet, Göbekli Tepe. We do some beautiful, deep rituals there to connect with this. It's a stargate. So to connect with the stars, our star tribe, our star people, well grounded on the earth of Mesopotamia in Turkey. And then we go to Cappadocia and we go in caves to do the inner work. So we do breath work, we do primal dancing, and we also have a cultural amazing experience. We go on a hot air balloon at sunrise to do a beautiful ritual. We go dance with dervishes, and we're going to do the heart protocol as well. So this is April 25th to the May 2nd this year, next year as well, if you hear that podcast later. And hit me up. I'm very, very open to people writing and asking for questions, help. If I can, I will be there. The website is soulquest.life/Turkey. This is for the retreat in Turkey, and davidlamka.com as well. And my soon to be podcast will be on all the platforms where you can find Steve's podcast called Next Evolution.
Yeah, amazing.
Amen.
Can't wait for that. Well, thank you so much for your time, David. We'll catch up again soon. And your retreat sounds amazing. So anyone watching, check it out. We'll try and get this released before.
Yes, with a coupon, friends, for $200 discount for the retreat for everyone who's listening to us.
Yeah, add friends. Amazing. All right.
See you soon. Thank you, brother. And thank you everyone for listening to us. Thank you for your time.